Ladies and gentlemen, would you please rise for the playing of
the Sibling Rivalry Baseball Podcast.
And here's your host, Jana, and her big brother, Jeff. Sibling Rivalry Baseball Podcast, back in your ears, here to talk about the last week of the regular season. And we already know who's moved on in the wild card. So we'll talk about all of that. As we kind of hinted at last week, wasn't sure whether Jana would be here or not. She is not. So it's just me today. Jana's off roaming the wilds of the National Park Wild somewhere in like Arizona or Utah or I don't know, somewhere out there. She might have even fallen into the meteor crater for all I know. We expect her to be back next week when we'll get a little deeper dive into to the playoffs and that. So remember, you can find us on social media at Sibling Rivalry BB without the A. That's on Twitter, on Facebook, and Instagram. It's Sibling Rivalry BB with the A. And, of course, our website, siblingrivalrybb.com. Check out the Fanatics link and head on over there and get all your postseason gear for your favorite teams. That way you can support who you want to see make it to the World Series. Well, we already knew with the Angels that they were eliminated. We've been talking about that for a while now. All of the drama that had been going on, things changing. We knew that there is a big chance that Shohei is not going to be back. Even if the Angels make a great offer, he may not be back, and it's not going to be about the money. Most people that know Shohei will tell you one thing. He loves to play baseball. The money is just something that's there. It's not like he's not going to accept it. But he wants to win more than anything else, and you saw that a lot during the World Baseball Classic, Japan. He really wanted to be there. In fact, even Mike Trout, who made it to the finals with the USA team versus Shohei and the Japanese team, said it was nice to have that atmosphere. He hasn't had that but one time, and even then, he didn't perform well, and they got swept. The Angels finished the season at 73 and 89. I think most people had them, with about 85 wins, so they seriously underperformed. Of course, when you have like almost a full 40-man roster, I think they had ended up like 39 players made their way onto the 39 different players made their way on to the injured list, including Mike Trout, who never really came back from breaking that bone in his hand. Rendon, who was never really around at all during the season. And, of course, Shohei lost out in last month. But everything he did put him in a position to win the MVP. I don't think there's anybody close. So he's going to walk off with that in spite of not playing pretty much the whole last month of the season. So we're going to go in depth with the Angels after the playoffs. We'll talk about what we saw during the season, what we're looking for in the off season, and what we hope will come up, and for them to move forward. And we'll do the same with the Dodgers. Now we're going to kind of just look at the final week of the season and see how they finished up, and then we'll talk about the wild card. And a few other little pieces here. One thing, might as well get this out of the way right now. Phil Nevin, contract not renewed. He is no longer the manager. Now, part of it, I'm kind of happy that he's not there. But on the other side, Perry Manassian is. And we know that a lot of the problems that were going on is how the front office runs the rest of the team. And, Phil became the spokesman most of the time. All the players love playing for him, but that's not enough. And he really made some poor decisions on his own managing, and I don't think he always I don't think that the game plan that he was given was ever that solid either. And those were the times that he should have used his baseball knowledge and feel. And maybe he doesn't have that. Maybe he was worried that what happened to Joe Madden was going to happen to him. But what happened to Joe Madden was more because Joe Madden told Perry angrily, "Don't ever call my clubhouse again. Don't ever call to the dugout during the game. All your stuff, all your analytics people and all that stuff, that's all before the game. Once the game starts, you're in my domain." And Perry didn't like that. And thus, that was the end of Joe Madden. Maybe if Perry leaves, maybe they can bring Joe back. The question will be is who's going to end up being the new manager, what they're going to look for. Obviously, with a lot of teams are doing now, even though a lot of this analytics stuff is starting to be questioned, it's still the way of the world. And until they get past that, those guys are going to rule everything, and the front office is going to want their say. And as long as teams like the Dodgers are seeing success with the analytics and the front office sharing or dictating, in a lot of cases, the game plan, until there's like no teams having success doing it that way, it's going to continue on. For a lot of people, and I'm sure a lot of owners, they'd rather have teams that didn't have live players on them. They had robots, so that that would save them a lot of money. And that's the thing. It's not about the game necessarily for a lot of these owners. It's about how much money they're putting in their pocket, which I guess is the key place. It's the thing everywhere. What are we going to do? Anyway, the Angels had two final series to finish up the season. They took on the Rangers for 3, and then at home, and then Oakland would come in for the final 3 of the season. I got to go to game 162, the final Sunday game, and we'll talk about that coming up in a second. The Angels lose the overall series to the Rangers 2-1. They do win one of them. Not a lot of offense for them in the first game. The Rangers take them out 5-1 on the Monday night game. And, a couple home runs, actually 3 home runs. Marcus Semien, Adolis Garcia, and Mitch Garver, all with home runs versus the Angels pitching. All 3 of those home runs came off of Jimmy Herget, who had been having a great season. I even mentioned him last week. I should have kept my mouth shut because then, boom, blown save, gives up 3 hits, all home runs, and so much for his, scoreless streak. Patrick Sandoval just did 3 innings, gave up only 2 hits, walked 5, struck out 2. Just a short, quick outing. Jose Suarez, who's been back but has looked horrid, looked okay, pitched 2 innings, didn't give up any runs or hits, and didn't strike anybody out or walk anybody, so all is well. Jaime Barria gave up a couple of runs as well. So, and then Carson Fulmer, a guy who hadn't pitched, he hadn't started in years, like a couple of years. So it was cool to see him out there. The Angels signed him minor league contract. And we'll talk a little bit more about Carson Fulmer when we get to the Oakland A's series. Angels, one constant, Nolan Shanuel getting on base. Logan O'Hoppe with a home run. A couple of hits overall, but one of those being a home run. And otherwise, just pretty anemic offense. Michael Stefanik, 3 hits in the game. He was named I think he was like the AAA Player of the Year for the Pacific Coast League, and at least the Angels Minor League Player of the Year. So we'll see. I mean, there's a lot of guys that came up and played pretty well, and we'll see if they get a shot next year. Some of these rookies, O'Hoppe, I think we've got him set in there. Shanuel, Zach Neto, of course. Michael Stefanik, maybe. We'll see. Joe Adele, no telling. He's still not really found a groove. Be nice if he could, and we do know Logan O'Hoppe and a couple of the pitchers are going to be there. So a younger team. Question is who do you build around it with? Anyway, so the Angels, like I said, the Angels drop 2 of the 3, but the spotlight game was the game number 2 where the Angels beat up on the Rangers 9-3. Reed Detmers, who not a great, when you look at his win-loss record, not great, 4-10, but if you look at his overall pitching line, not bad. He's had some bad outings, but he's overall had some really good ones. Struck out 7 over 7 innings, only gave up 4 hits and 1 run, and picks up the victory there. Offensively, you had Brandon Drury going 3 for 4, 3 RBIs, a home run. Logan O'Hoppe with a double. A lot of multi-hit games. Randall Grichuk, who is a free agent after this, but he's somebody I wouldn't mind seeing come back. He played pretty well, even after they put him on waivers. Joe Adele had a couple of hits, 2 RBIs each for Eduardo Escobar and Michael Stefanik, and like I said, they go on to win that 9-3. Probably the highlight in that game for the Rangers was a home run by Josh Smith, who came in for Corey Seager. 2 RBIs for him with that home run, 2-run shot. But they just couldn't put it together, and they lose that one. The Dodgers doubled up the number of hits. I'll hit them 12-6. And then, like I said, final game of the series. The Rangers blank the Halos 5-0. Angels had 3 hits in the game, and once again, Marcus Semien, Corey Seager, Adalis Garcia, all kind of leading the way as they've done for their team all season long. For the Angels, Michael Stefanik got a triple, but other than that, only David Fletcher and Logan O'Hoppe would join him with a hit each. They just couldn't get anything going, get anybody on. Griffin Canning, not a great outing for him. Only gave up 2 runs over 6 innings, struck out 5, but it just and then Carlos Estevez, such a great season to start, and then everything just fell apart for him towards the end. There was just something that he just couldn't keep it together, and I guess that's been a thing with him in the past of having his bright moments, but then just kind of falling apart as time goes. He still did a great job, over 30 saves on a team that just had some nights where they were just terrible. Anyway, that would finish that up, the final one. Of course, the Rangers were playing to get into the playoffs. They would go to Seattle and have success there and make their way into the playoffs. But because they celebrated a little too hard on last Saturday night, it appears that they forgot that they were still playing for the AL West. Spent over 100 days in the lead, first place, and then on the last day they lose. Houston ends up winning the NL West, and Houston had like 30 some odd days in first place overall through the season. So Friday night, the Angels start their final homestand, and they send Chase Silseth to the mound. He goes 4 and just gives up 1 run on 2 hits, walks 3, strikes out 3. And then Davis Daniel comes in, and he goes 5 innings, just gives up 2 hits and no runs. And the Angels will take that victory 5-1. It was Zach Geloff who would score the only run in the game for the A's. Brent Rooker would hit a double that would score Geloff, and that would be it for them. Angels home run from Mickey Moniak, who, due to injury issues in that, ends up not playing. For the last couple of games of the series, but he had a great night then. David Fletcher 2 for 4, quite a few hits, 9 hits overall, and then of course, like I said, they scored the 5 runs. and take that first one. Game number 2 swapped around. The A's, even with their 111 total losses there at that game, they would end up with 112 losses, as the Angels would take the Sunday game as well. But only 50 wins for them on the season, and this would be the last one for them of the season where they beat the Angels 7-3. Zach Geloff, who's been their rookie sensation this year, Shea Langoliers, both with home runs. Shea was 2 for 3 with the 3 RBIs. Zach Geloff 3 for 5 with 3 RBIs, and that would be all they needed. The Angels, once again, Logan O'Hoppe hitting the long ball. Brandon Drury, who I think Brandon Drury is probably the MVP of the team, if not for Shohei. Also on that Saturday night, it was Fan Appreciation Night, so they also awarded like the club awards. Who was the Angels MVP as voted by the teammates. Of course, that was Shohei, but I think Brandon Drury would have been there without Shohei. Drury will be back. He has one more year. There's a lot of other guys, though. I mentioned Grichuk. Also, Mike Moustakas, somebody that may be worth looking into bringing back. A lot of it's going to depend on what happens with Shohei, how they want to build the team. But I think Mike Moustakas is a good veteran to have around because he was doing stuff that you'd want your manager to do. He was also doing stuff that you want veterans to do, and that's to work with the young guys. Somebody I heard on the radio said, they need a Crash Davis type to come in and, season the kid, as the manager told him. Want you to room with them and teach him the ropes, and that's what you need. And Mike Moustakas could kind of play that role and contribute occasionally. Pitching wise, not a great night for him. Ben Joyce, he of the 105 mile an hour fastball, gave up 4 runs of the 7 that the A's would score. And once again, it's like, well, okay, I guess these are the 2 worst teams in the West. You have to expect the A's. They can win. They've got some decent players on the team. Just never know how it's gonna play out. So they finished that one up, and final game, number 162. The score's inverted. The Angels take it this time 7-3. They start off at one point, it was 7-0. And then Brent Rooker with a home run. Oh, well, that happened. You had S4E27 steal his 67th base, which was a rookie record. And, of course, he's not going to really break any records in Oakland because Ricky Henderson, the greatest base stealer of them all, was there. Anyway, the Brent Rooker had a great final day of the season. Nick Allen, another one, who had 3 hits and played pretty well. And it, for a little while though, even when they scored, by the time that they scored, it was still 7-0. Now it does mean, hey, the Angels could fall apart and they could lose this, but Grichuk with a home run. Brandon Drury with 2 home runs and a double. They just took control early and kept the pedal to the metal and never really slowed down. Drury 3 for 4 in the game. Zach Neto 2 for 4, and then Grichuk the 1 for 5 there. Eduardo Escobar, a couple of timely hits, goes 2 for 4, and like I said, the Angels take that 7-3. Now Carson Fulmer, who I mentioned earlier, hadn't started in like 3-4 years, and makes his start. Actually goes 5 innings, looks pretty good. Only struck out 3, did walk 3, but only gave up 2 hits. The runs that were given up were Jose Suarez and Jimmy Herget. Carson Fulmer, for a guy that hadn't pitched in years, didn't look too bad. 75 pitches, 42 of them for strikes. He looked pretty good. Who knows what's going to happen with him? He's had up and down, and he looked really good now, but we've seen that before where they look good at the end of the season. They get invited into spring training, and things just kind of fall off. As we know, another disappointing season for the Halos. Going to forgo the players of the week because really at this point, everybody's just trying to play to make it through. Brandon Drury, probably is the guy that gets it because he had a good week. Logan Ohapi for the most part. In this last game, Ohapi walked 4 times. So the questions are, where do we go from here with the Angels? We'll start with a new manager. We'll see. At this point, it looks like unless something happens, that Perry Manassian is going to be the GM next year. Artie's going to maintain being the owner for the foreseeable future. My hope is that he doesn't insist that he's going to be the owner until they win a title, because with the way it all works out, it's not that he doesn't spend money. It's just he doesn't spend money on the right things. This is an organization that needs kind of an overhaul. It needs to get people back in to the development, and you need to get out of the analytics mean everything. Because what I looked at is nowhere at the end of any game is there a line on the scorecard that said, well, they hit more balls over 100 miles an hour, or their launch angles were the best. That doesn't come into play. So those are just gee whiz personal neat stats that don't mean anything in the bottom line. The bottom line is, how many games did you win? How many games did you lose? And did you win enough to make it into the playoffs?
It's time for Dodger baseball.
The Dodgers found themselves on the road to finish up the season up in Colorado, and then they would play their last games for the season up in San Francisco. They really, they're not playing for anything as far as standings go or a playoff spot. That had already been long decided. At this point, it's let's see how many games we can win. They weren't going to be able to surpass the A's for wins and have home field throughout. But they do get the first round bye into the playoffs. And like I said, we'll talk a little bit about the playoffs coming up in Around Baseball. So what do they really have to do? The Dodgers, that's what they have to do, get themselves ready, give some people maybe a break here and there. But for the most part, they have to, just keep everybody moving in the right direction to keep them keep the momentum going. Because a lot of times what happens, you start taking too much time off, you kind of get out of rhythm. And you don't want that to happen. Mookie Betts, still in the race for the MVP. Has a pretty good game in the first game with the Rockies, but the Rockies will take that one 4-1. Only Jason Hayward able to score a run there. And then he went 3 for 4. Mookie 2 for 5, but they just didn't really. They had this at 9 hits, just like the Rockies, but they just couldn't really put anybody across. And oh well. Caleb Ferguson would be the opener. Only gets 2 outs in that first inning. Gives up 3 runs. Ryan Pepio comes in, pitches 6. Gives up 1 run on 5 hits, and Michael Grove comes in to finish it off. So getting these guys a little bit of work, getting them back used to things, and getting them ready. That's, win or lose doesn't matter. You just need these guys to be ready when it comes time to play in the playoffs. And the next night, it really looked like they were ready. 11-2 victory. They would actually win this series. Chris Taylor leading off had a pretty good night. Freddie Freeman 2 for 4 with a home run and a double. He really wanted that doubles mark, and he didn't have to go. It was a solid single, but he hustled around and took advantage of somebody thinking it was a routine play. The center fielder did, and he gets a double out of that. Max Muncy feeling good, 3 for 4. So a lot of these guys, Kike, 3 for 5. A lot of multi-hit games in this one. It was a good thing because now you got these guys who are you got everybody. You got Kike in there, David Peralta, Colton Wong, Ahmed Rosario, all starting, giving some guys a rest, and keeping them fresh and ready for the playoffs. 18 hits overall for the Dodgers in that game, including 4 from James Outman and Bobby Miller on the hill. Overall, looked pretty good. Struck out 9, gave up 1 home run. That home run was to Montero. Charlie Blackmon doubled off of him, but overall, like I said, 7 innings, only 2 runs, struck out 9. Definitely giving himself a solid spot. Not that they have any other choices, but making you feel a little bit better about him being one of the starters in the playoffs, maybe even the first or second games in the series that the NLDS. And then Joe Kelly and Alex Vesia both come in and pitch clean innings with Joe Kelly striking out 2. Next day, final game in Colorado before they head to the Bay. The Dodgers take that last game 8-2, run their record to 98-60. So about 2 more games and they'll have another 100-win season. Does it matter? Not when you get to the playoffs. It doesn't. It secured them the number 2 seed, but we saw what happened when they had the number 1 seed last year. Didn't really work out for them. Freddie Freeman with a home run and a stolen base, which is kind of weird because I think Freddie Freeman was a stolen base leader for the as in fact Bill last week when we had Bill Perkins in from Top Fan Rivalry, he mentioned that Freddie Freeman was the top base stealer, and you would think you'd have some other guys doing that. Outman with another home run, a couple of doubles from Peralta, and overall pretty solid output. 3 RBIs for Freddie, and then on the mound you had Emmett Sheehan, who looked pretty good. 6 innings pitched, gave up 5 hits, 2 runs, but struck out 10. Did give up 2 home runs, one to Sean Bouchard, one to Brendan Rodgers. But, oh well. You need him out there. You need him going. If he could strike out 10, he only gives up a couple of runs because both of those home runs were solo home runs. So, Brusdar Graterol looking good, and then Ryan Brazier and Alex Vesia finish things up. And so at this point, a lot of the pieces for the Dodgers are in place. They just got to stay motivated after having, a whole week off, because they're not going to start the playoffs until Saturday. So they got 2 days before they're going to start their playoff mix. And we'll talk about who they're going to be facing up with when we get to Around Baseball, because we already know. All right, Dodgers pack up out of the Rockies. Oh, sorry, forgot. This was a 4-game set, so they had to play Thursday. And I didn't mention, too, on the Monday or the Tuesday game, it was a doubleheader. So they played 2 games that day, split that. They would end up actually splitting this series. So I don't know why I forgot it was a 4-game set. Probably because I wasn't paying that much attention. And as Jana would probably have said, we can just bypass this one. Here you've got a 100-loss team versus a nearly 100-win team. And the Rockies did what you would expect the Rockies would do in Denver. They exploded for a bunch of runs. You're supposed to have more offense there, right? 14-5. The Rockies just they kind of, it wasn't too bad of a game to start. It was tied up after the top of the third, and then the Rockies scored 4 in the bottom of the third, 2 in the bottom of the fourth, another 4 in the bottom of the seventh, and 1 in the eighth. And like I said, 14-5. The Dodgers had 3 errors in this game. Max Muncy, Colton Wong, and Mookie Betts all had an issue. As far as the Dodgers offensively, J.D. Martinez had a home run in the game, as well as Kike, but it just wasn't enough. I mean, it was good, and that's something that we should look forward to. Austin Barnes had a couple of hits, so those are things that we want to see. Colton Wong, 3 hits. So we want to see these guys coming in so that we know if they're needed, if they're on the playoff roster, that they'll be able to come through and that they're ready. Let's just talk about what the Rockies did. Quite a few home runs overall. They hit these home runs off of actually only 3, so it felt like more. Ryan Yarbrough didn't have a great outing. 4 innings, gave up 11 hits and 9 runs. 3 of those were home runs. And then Caleb Ferguson, who's been really, the two of them have looked good at times during the season. Neither one of them looked good in this game. Shelby Miller looked all right, as did Miguel Rojas, for the fact that he threw 12 pitches, gave up a hit and a run, but no home runs. So he also had a walk in the game. That's probably what happened, is that he walked somebody. They ended up scoring off of the 1 hit that he did give up. But Miguel gets an inning of work, which is better than Caleb Ferguson got. Caleb Ferguson just got a third of an inning. Offensively, Montero, Sean Bouchard, who I mentioned, both had home runs, along with Charlie Blackmon. Blackmon finishing up his season pretty strongly. Spent a lot of time on the IL. He had 2 doubles along with his home run, and like I said, they get the last win of their season series versus the Dodgers. Of course, the Dodgers will take the season series. Dodgers find their way to San Francisco. Like I said, they've already won the pennant in the West, so they're not playing anything other than pride. When it comes to their rivalry with the Giants, it's always a bigger thing because it's the Giants. Freddie Freeman, 3 for 4 with a home run and a double. I mean, he really wanted those doubles. Will Smith, J.D. Martinez, both with home runs, and the Dodgers would win this one 6-2. Wilmer Flores would drive in both runs. The solo home run that brought him in, and then he got the RBI that would have that scored Lamont Wade Jr. Lance Lynn on the hill goes 6, gives up 2 runs, strikes out 4, only gave up 1 home run in this game. Of course, to Wilmer Flores. Ryan Brazier, Joe Kelly, and Brusdar Graterol all came in to blank the Giants on the way out the door. Game 2 of the series, Giants squeak by the Dodgers 2-1. Dodgers out-hit the Giants 8 hits to 5. Overall, not only David Peralta with a multi-hit game. Overall, they just couldn't put anything together. Just scored the 1 run, and David Peralta got himself on base, and then would score a run that was driven in by Mookie Betts. That would be it. It was the 2 home runs. I'm sorry, the 2 runs for the Giants. Tyler Fitzgerald with a home run off of Clayton Kershaw. Yep, it was Kershaw day. And Kirsch would go 5 1/3 innings, give up both of the runs, one of them being the home run, struck out 5. 83 total pitches over the 5 innings. 52 of those were strikes. So, and he says that he's felt like he's turned a corner with the back issues and the shoulder issues he's been having. So hopefully, he's feeling pretty strong throughout the playoffs, because we need him and Lance Lynn to definitely anchor that, and then we need the fire of Bobby Miller, and then we'll see from there. Those first 3, hopefully they can come out, smack whoever they're playing in the mouth, and stun them, and then move forward. All right, so that brings us to game 162 between the Dodgers and the Giants. And the question is, can the Dodgers And the question is, can the Dodgers get to 100 wins? The Giants, who played real well throughout the season, end up with a 79-83 record. And they kind of did themselves in down the stretch. They were a playoff team. They were right in the thick of everything, and then they just couldn't hold on. They end up falling behind the Dregs, who had been behind them almost all season long, and just a nice little stretch at the end of their season. So, unfortunately for the Giants, things didn't work out as well as they had hoped, and they end up missing out and ended up in fourth place. They were the Angels of the NL West. Although they played a lot better overall. Kike with a home run, 3 RBIs in this game, and the Dodgers would take it 5-2. He basically drove the bus on the final game and helped them get that 100th win. Will Smith would have a couple of hits. 3 different players hit by pitch. Freddie, Will, and Chris Taylor. Didn't mention that Miguel Rojas was hit in the hand in a game and came out, and so a little bit of worry about that. But I think he's okay, and no worries there. Casey Schmidt for the Giants would have 2 home runs, and that would basically be all the runs that they would get. Bobby Miller back on the hill, only goes 4 innings, but I think that was by design. No reason to overpitch him. Strikes out 4, walks 1, just gives up 1 hit. Ryan Pepio gave up both the home runs to Casey Schmidt. Evan Phillips gets in a little work and a nice clean inning with a strikeout. And that would end the Dodgers' regular season. Gets them ready. Figure that is the 1st of October. And they don't play again until the 7th of October. We saw what happened last year. There was just no fire when they came back. I think this year there's going to be a little more fire. And maybe winning 111 games, they got a little overconfident, or they were just tired. I don't know. This season, though, I think Dodger fans in general hope that the Dodgers can maintain that fire, maintain that rhythm, see Mookie and Freddie do their things, see the return of Will Smith and how he was hitting, so that first 3 is always setting the table for everybody else. And then the guys that have been the bit players popping up, Jason Hayward, David Peralta, Kike, all these guys popping up and getting a job done. Max Muncy, we need him to be the Max Muncy of old. James Outman has to be the Rookie of the Year. Chris Taylor. All these guys have to step. J.D. Martinez. The strong parts of their seasons need to recreate them now, or they need to go ahead and step up and be better than they were at the best parts of their seasons. No player of the week for the Dodgers. Like I said, they will start at home in the playoffs. If they can get it going and just take out the 2, they're going to be playing the Arizona Diamondbacks, who won their wild card round, and by taking out the Milwaukee Brewers, who just have no luck at all in getting anything done. But and I guess they need more than luck. They need to be able to win, because otherwise, what difference does it make? Anyway, so they're going to be taking them on. We'll talk a little bit about the Milwaukee Arizona game in Around Baseball, or series in Around Baseball, but that's who the Dodgers are going to have coming up. Next week we'll talk about that series, because like I said, it starts on Saturday. So we'll talk and see. It very well, by the time next week's show comes around, that series could be over. If you're a Dodger fan, you hope it's over, because you want it to be you don't want to have to mess around. You want to get it done and then move on to your next opponent. So, like I said, Arizona coming to the Ravine to take on, I guess, Clayton Kershaw is the starting pitcher So we'll check in with you on that one. Check in on a Saturday when the division series starts in both the American League and the National League. Time to hop in the bullpen cart and do some donuts out in the outfield. They're going to be replacing the sod anyway, and obviously we can't do that on somebody that's playing in the playoffs. But there's a lot of teams that aren't in the playoffs, and even more that are no longer in the playoffs. The wild card round started up, and wow. Before we get to the playoffs, though, it is time for the Players of the Week, MLB style. We got like two sides, two ends of the spectrum. We've got a veteran and we got a rookie. The veteran, Justin Verlander. I think this is like his 10th Player of the Week. Verlander goes 2-0 over the week with a .69 ERA, struck out 13, only gave up 1 run and 5 hits over 13 innings. And then Nolan Jones from Colorado was the NL Player of the Week. 429 average. He went 12 for 28. A 1163 OPS, 2 home runs, 7 RBIs, 3 stolen bases over 7 games. Of course, that was the end of his season, so he went out strong. Verlander is taking a little break because, of course, the Asterix they ended up with a bye for the first round. So we'll see them taking on who? Well, let's tell you how everything finished up. How did the standings end up, and who ended up in the postseason? Well, we knew that the teams that had made it in, early on, Atlanta, the Dodgers. We know that both Baltimore and Tampa Bay had secured their spots. Minnesota and Milwaukee had won their divisions. The only two divisions at the end that we weren't sure about how they were going to end was the East, the AL East, and the AL West. Well, the AL West basically came down to the last day. The AL East was figured out when Baltimore, won out and another over 101 seasons, and I think that they're like one of the only teams to go from like 110 losses one year to over 100 the following year. Then we saw Philly had found their way in. Towards that last weekend, the Marlins found their way in, as did the Diamondbacks, thanks to losses from other teams that were right there in the thick of everything. Texas, as I mentioned earlier, would end up as a wild card versus winning out in the AL West, thanks to not winning that last game versus Seattle. But that pushed Seattle completely out of it. Toronto, we knew they were going to probably find in there. And, of course, like we said, the Twins. Over the wild card series, you figure it's a 3-game set. It's played at the higher seeds ballpark. So in the American League, the Twins and the Blue Jays are going to face off at Target Field for 3 games. And then the Rangers travel to Tampa Bay to take on the Rays there in that, I don't know, dumpster that they play in there in Tampa Bay. A little embarrassment for Tampa Bay. Lowest attendance for a playoff game since 1919. Under 20,000. It's like 19,507 or something like that. Just nobody wants to come and watch that team play. Now, we'll say that it was a day game. It was, announced late. It was like a 3 o'clock in the afternoon game, Eastern time. But that really shouldn't matter because the Braves had a game like that, and they drew 42,000. Just a better fan base just up the road into Atlanta. Of course, you could say, well, Atlanta's had, a lot of success over the years, but so is Tampa Bay. They were just in the World Series a few years ago versus the Dodgers, and they still can't get anybody. to come and watch them play. Is it the ballpark? I've heard they've got a new ballpark coming, but I've heard that's not going to make any difference because it's still going to be in the same area where the current ballpark is. And people don't really want to go in the Tampa, St. Petersburg area. People don't want to go over to that part of the bay. I don't know enough about it to know why, but that's... Anyway, it won't matter because the Rangers sweep Tampa Bay. They didn't need 3. They only needed 2. And they move on. They will be heading to Baltimore to take on the Orioles, where the Twins would also sweep their opponents, the Blue Jays, and the Twins head to the Juice Box to take on the Asterix, and potentially a new set of playoff-style emblem on them for the playoffs, trash cans. In the National League, I figured at least one team would go, or one series would go all 3. No. Philly takes out the Marlins 2-0, and the Brewers get eliminated once again from the playoffs. They just can't get. When was it? 1982. They went to a World Series, and they lost. But how is it that, there's a lot of teams that don't make it, but they've had many opportunities in playoffs that they just can't get past a certain point. And what is it? What is that bump for them? Some teams that happens. There's some players or managers that just are not meant to go beyond a certain spot. They can't manage past it. You can get to the World Series, but you can't win it. In 1982, the Brewers were in the American League, and they were in the East. The Angels were in the West. They beat the Angels. The Angels don't go to the World Series. The Brewers do. Like I said, they got beat in 1982. What was that, versus the Cardinals? So, yeah. Anyway, so it's crazy that every single one, that was a two-game series, every single wild card series. So now, instead of the teams that got buys, they got Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and now so they got a little head start on the days off. But now all the teams that won on Wednesday get a couple of days off, and then back at it on Saturday. So who's going to have the upper hand here? Will that couple of extra days of rest help the wild card teams, or will it hurt them? Just like Will being off for a week hurt the winners, the bye teams. All right, so Division Series fires up with all 4 games starting on Saturday. You've got Texas at Baltimore will start everything up, and then it just kind of falls in place after that. Fox has the American League. TBS will be doing the National League games, so it'll be Texas versus Baltimore, Philly versus Atlanta in a rematch. Minnesota at Houston, and then the Diamondbacks at the Dodgers. On Sunday, there'll only be 2 games, and those will be the American League games. Monday, we'll only have the National League games, and then back, and we'll be alternating like that through Tuesday, because then Monday's got the National League, Tuesday's got the American League. Wednesday, you'll have all 4 if neither of the American League series is if either team sweeps their series in the American League, there'll be no game for them on Wednesday. That'll be the case with the National League. That'll be game 3, and then October 12th, if needed. It'll go and then it'll go from there back and forth. Thursday, October 12th, with the National League, American League on the 13th, and the National League on the 14th. Those last 3 days, if necessary. And then we'll start up the League Championship Series on the 15th, and then the World Series will start on October 27th. If it goes the distance, it will be over Game 7. Will be over if it goes to Game 7, it'll be over around November 4th. In fact, that's Game 7 is not around. It will be on November 4th, and the World Series will all be on your local Fox channel. Championship Series will be just like the Division Series. Fox has the American League, and National League will be playing on TBS. So yeah, it was kind of surprising that nobody, every single series was a sweep. It's just crazy. So next week we'll be talking about the Division Series. A few notes to go through now about some things. Miguel Cabrera, we know he was going to retire. We didn't talk about it last week, but and it's funny, but it's also kind of tragic. Everybody's giving Miguel, that last time through, giving him a gift, sending him off into retirement. And we talked about the Angels have a surfboard, has his accomplishments on it, the big things that he's done in his career, and it mirrors like the City Connects that the Angels have. But they've been giving out surfboards for years. The Dodgers gave him the big Hollywood Star and something else that I never found out what it was, and I didn't really keep looking, honestly. And then the final place that I saw something was they go to Oakland, and in Oakland they gave him a bottle of wine. And of course, it wasn't some kind of rare vintage or something with some high value. Now, it was, if you went down to your local chain beverage store, like Bevmo or Wine and More or whatever they're called, it was between $79.99 and $89.99 was this bottle of wine. And then to top it off, Miggy is a recovering alcoholic. So yeah, let's give him some alcohol on top. A cheap wine, comparatively. I mean, for most of us, we're not drinking $80 bottles of wine. We're down at Trader Joe's getting the $2 chuck ourselves. But still, come on, you guys couldn't have given him something, a couple $100 bottle of wine. It seems to me like it just goes to show how Oakland is. Anyway, Miguel Cabrera becomes the last player to have played versus the Montreal Expos. There are no players now who played versus the Expos. I mean, I guess technically the franchise formerly known as the Expos, now known as the Washington Nationals, everybody's playing against them, but nobody has played up in Montreal or against the Expos. He's the last guy. Nobody else has done it. They were gone. Now, there is a lot of talk about them being in a good spot for an expansion team. I would say maybe it's time that the Rays maybe head north and go to Montreal, because it seems like Montreal really wants a team and they want it badly. We mentioned earlier Phil Nevin gone. We do know that Aaron Boone is probably going to be staying. Question is, what's going to happen with Brian Cashman in New York? Aaron Judge has said this is we love this guy, and but has questioned some moves by the front office. So hey, what could possibly happen? Well, we'll see. As the days go. Question is who else will be leaving? We know that a lot of questions about Bob Melvin down in San Diego. He's going to be coming back along with the general manager AJ Preller. A lot of shade being thrown towards Preller, not so much towards Melvin, but I was okay if Melvin got fired down there and maybe was available for the Angels. There's a lot of questions about that, but yeah, so they're able to So they're going to be keeping their jobs down there in San Diego moving forward. Other teams have yet to decide where they're going with things. There's going to be a lot of changes in front offices and stuff like that because a lot of these teams, especially those who were supposed to do something and didn't, the question is always going to be, is this the right move? Does it, by firing the manager, are you getting anywhere? Is the problem further up the line? The Angels aren't the only one that have that question that needs to be asked. They're one of many teams that have that question. Let's talk one thing. A lot of questions about the MVP and who should be it, and it kind of has come down to the MVP conversation for the National League. I think the American League, everybody's pretty much settled in that Shohei has outdistanced everybody. Corey Seager has been brought up as an MVP candidate, but he's pretty distant in the race. So Shohei's probably going to walk away with the MVP there. But in the National League, a lot of conversation around whether Ronald Acuna Jr. or Mookie Betts. Also, Freddie Freeman and Matt Olson have both been brought up, so teammates in both cases. I think the time frame. I think it's time to just let Mookie go on this conversation as well. It's not that he hasn't had a great MVP type season, along with the other guys I mentioned, but the minute that Ronald Acuna Jr. hit the 70 steals mark, along with the 40 home runs, nobody else has done it. I think it's like, a couple of years ago or last year when Aaron Judge broke the American League home run record. That's it. He became it. It didn't matter who had a better season. But Ronald Acuna Jr.'s had a great year. Can't fight that. And I think, like I said, he's going to walk away with the MVP regardless of how Mookie's done during the season, or Freddie or Matt Olson or anybody else. And I think that's just the bottom line. Here's something. For the first time since 1999, the Pirates will finish better than the Cardinals. The Cardinals end up in last place. Kind of a sad year for them, but, there was just something going on. Don't know what it was. They just fell apart and never really could put it back together. They had moments where they played well, but just not well enough. So, ain't that the way? Some finals for the 2023 stat leaders. Shohei would walk away with 44 home runs and lead the AL, where Matt Olson, who spent some time behind him, would end up with 10 more home runs. So who knows how many Shohei would have had if he'd have been able to continue to hit, even if he couldn't pitch. Matt Olson, 54 home runs, leads both the NL and Major League Baseball. Batting average, Yandy Diaz hit .330 for the Tampa Bay Rays and wins the batting title. Luis Ariz didn't quite get to the 400 mark, but did end up at .354, and he ends up not only leading the NL but Major League Baseball. Kyle Tucker, 112 RBIs to lead the AL, where Matt Olson, 139. Once again, that led the MLB along with the NL. Stolen bases, Ronald Acuna Jr. ends up with 73 on the season and will lead all of Major League Baseball. And then, like I already mentioned, he has the first 40-70 season in all of AL-NL history. Esteury Ruiz from Oakland led the AL, 67 bags stolen. And he breaks Kenny Lofton's single-season record for stolen bases by an AL rookie. And that was missing a whole month. When I went up to Oakland to watch them play Baltimore, he was out, injured, had a shoulder injury. And he still, imagine if he had that month back, he probably would have led the NL with those stolen bases. Another one that, honestly, I don't care. StatCast barrels, barrels, how hard hit balls, don't care. Not going to do it. Wins, we know that wins have been devalued in a lot of ways, and maybe just how you get them should work out better. But wins-wise, Chris Bassett from Toronto and Zach Eflin from Tampa Bay, both with 16 to lead the AL. And in the NL, Spencer Strider would be the only pitcher in 2023 to grab 20 wins. And that used to be the gold standard, 20 wins. And, Denny McClain had 30 wins way back in the day. Not really anybody else doing that, but, 2023 MLB NL leader in wins, Spencer Strider and his mustache. ERA champions, Blake Snell out of the National League, and the MLB leader with the 2.25 ERA, which I think puts him right in the lead for the Cy Young. He did, fantastically. And then Garrett Cole from the Yankees led the AL with a 2.63 ERA. And this could be, a Cy Young year for him as well. And I think it looks pretty impressive, especially on teams that fell apart, didn't do well, that these guys were able to do that. That's the second time that Garrett Cole has had the ERA title. Strikeouts, MLB leader once again, Spencer Strider. So we'll add another one, another end of the season stat line for him. Championship, 281 total strikeouts, just 102 less than the all-time strikeout number. It's the most by a Braves pitcher since 1901. Most recently, John Smoltz had 276 back in 1996. But yep, he continues to show that why he was an all-star and why people are high on him. Kevin Gossman, 237 for the Toronto Blue Jays, leads the AL, and he is just one of 5 pitchers to strike out at least 200 batters in each of the last 3 seasons. He joins Corbin Burns, Dylan Cease, Garrett Cole, and Aaron Nola. Aaron Nola is going to be a free agent. Question is, where's he going to end up at? If you need pitching, he's somebody that I really, and he's going to be pitching in the playoffs. So teams or fans of teams that don't really get to see the Phillies play that much will get a chance to look at him a little closer, and maybe, just maybe, you could talk him into coming to your team. Of course, as an Angels fan, I want to see, players like that we know have a good, solid career going, come to the Angels. My only problem with that is that we're not sure where the problem lies with the pitching staff, coaches. Just too many questions. Anyway, saves, 44 of them to lead MLB and the AL with Emmanuel Clase. And then Camilo Doval and David Bednar from San Francisco and Pittsburgh both had 39 to co-lead the NL in saves. Outs above average, all defensive stats, Kevin Kiermaier and Luis Robert Jr. plus 13. And that's why they, their teams wanted to keep him, why people wanted Kiermaier. They're above average defenders. And like in Robert's case, he hits a lot of home runs as well. Brenton Doyle from Colorado was plus 16. He led the MLB in, the defensive runs saved, or outs above average, for outfielders. And that's really it. There's a bunch of others. You can find them, on any stat page, whether you go to Baseball Reference or MLB.com. Lots of, you can find more stats and who ended up winning them for the year. Questions 2 now. Craig Cancel. A lot of talk about him and maybe him going somewhere to be a manager in other than Milwaukee. So we'll see. He's somebody. I'm not sure if I'd want him in Anaheim, but if I'm not sure that they're going to pick somebody that's actually going to be able to do anything until you get a GM who's just ready to let the manager do his thing. And Perry Manassian clearly is not that guy. Another cool stat on the year, Trey Turner is the first and only player ever to steal at least 30 bases in a season and not get caught. How incredible is that? Number 2 on that list, Chase Utley. So 2 former Dodgers and 2 Phillies, both high on that list as never getting caught. Chase Utley had 23 stolen bases without getting caught back in 2009. So there's a lot of gee whiz stuff out there as far as the stats go. You can find all those, what the barrels were, exit velocity, all those things. Who had the best at, Shohei Ohtani hit the hardest ball of the season or somebody else did. Who cares? It doesn't really do anything. If you've got a bunch of guys who all hit balls at 60 miles an hour and they're playing small ball and they're winning games, that's what you want. Because at the end, what was it in Moneyball that what was his name? Peter Brandt, the character that's kind of an amalgamation of a bunch of different guys. He said, you're not spending your money right. You're not buying what you really want to buy, which is wins. And that's what they need to do. Focus on what does it take to win. Because in the end, it doesn't matter all those other great stats, the spin rates and all those things, which may help somebody, a pitcher get somebody out because they've got more rotation on their curveball or their sweeper or whatever they're throwing. In the end, it doesn't matter if you didn't win. And that is what they need to be focusing on, winning. There is a documentary on PBS. I think it's already premiered. Not sure when exactly, but it premiered this last week. I wasn't able to catch it because I kind of found out about it a little too late. But it was a PBS Frontline special. And I'm sure that if you look it up, you can find it again. But it is called The Astros Edge, Triumph and Scandal in Major League Baseball. And it's a 90-minute documentary, and it's investigating things that happen. What does it take to win? Why do innovative organizations cross, over ethical boundaries, things like that? What about technology? When it outpaces, and we see this across everything. It's not just in baseball, but in our everyday life. Technology is going beyond and is moving faster than people can keep up with. And so it's not able to be regulated in a way that would protect everybody or to make it, to reset the ethics on things. And people, unfortunately, we can't be trusted always to do the right thing. My dad used to always say, you lock your doors so you can keep the honest people honest. You don't leave things out in plain sight where they can just grab them. Things like that. Keep the honest people honest. Well, unfortunately, we can't be trusted as a group. Not necessarily everybody, but as a group, we can't be trusted to always do the right thing, to do the ethical thing. And obviously, that's what happened. And not only, I don't think it's just happened there. They just happened to do it far beyond what anybody else was doing. But anyway, it's definitely a movie that or a documentary I definitely wanted to watch, and I recommend it if you're interested, because there's a lot of people that aren't even like huge baseball fans who know about the cheating scandal with the Asterix. And finally, before I wrap everything up today, it's time to say farewell to a future Hall of Famer. Not because of his playing days, like we're saying goodbye to Miguel Cabrera, who's definitely a future Hall of Famer. This guy never made it out of the minor leagues. He was drafted by the Cubs back in 1977, and then again by the Montreal Expos in 1980. Didn't have any kind of a great playing career. Had a negative WAR. Just didn't play. 16 home runs over his time in the minor leagues, playing in South Bend and Birmingham. But he did have quite the managing career. 3 times Manager of the Year. This guy took everything he learned at the University of Arizona, what he learned playing in the minors, and became quite the MLB manager, managing the Philadelphia Phillies for 4 years, the Red Sox. First year he was there, World Series champions. Actually won it twice with the Boston Red Sox. Moved on and finished up his career with the Cleveland Indians, making it into the playoffs a few times. AL pennant, won 3 total pennants, 2 World Series titles over his career, and that would be Tito. Terry Francona has officially retired. I think it was more because his scooter got stolen and they stripped it down, and it was it. He's like, I'm done. I can't manage anymore because everybody keeps stealing my scooter. But no, he is, unfortunately, it just became that time. Of course, he's had health issues over the last few years, and that has taken its toll. But yeah, he's definitely going to be a Hall of Fame manager. 1,950 wins against 1,672 losses for a .538 winning percentage. Managed 3,622 games, and really highly regarded in the world of baseball and by players and by everybody. Best wishes in the future to Terry Francona. Hope he enjoys his retirement. All right, so for this week, the tarp is on the podcast field. We'll be back next week. Jana should be back here unless she's decided to become a park ranger at some national park. She will. She can talk to. She can find Yogi Bear, maybe. Get some picnic baskets. I don't. She could talk baseball with everybody that comes to visit her at any of the parks. Probably she won't do that. She'll probably be here next week. We'll talk about the Dodgers' first playoff series. We'll break that down. We'll look at all the other playoff series and what happened in each one, where they stand, and who's moving on, if we know that at that point. And what has it gotten crazy yet? Postseason baseball is always awesome. I mean, even with the wild cards all only going 2 games, that's surprising. It's crazy surprising that not one team was able to extend it out 3 games. So until next time, remember you can find us on social media, Twitter, Sibling Rivalry BB without the A, Facebook and Instagram, Sibling Rivalry BB with the A, and of course our website, siblingrivalrybb.com. And like I said, get in there and get your playoff postseason gear from your favorite team or the team that you're deciding to root on if your team is not in there. Also next week, we have a pretty cool announcement to make about something, but I wanted to wait till Jana's here so we can both share the news with you together. So until next week, we got that coming. Make sure you tune in and enjoy some of this beautiful time of year in postseason baseball. There's nothing like it. Baseball is fantastic, as they used to say. Once again, thanks for listening to the Sibling Rivalry Baseball Podcast, and don't forget to swing away.